So today we're talking about the time that somebody dined and dashed on me when I worked at a restaurant. If you don't know what it is, dine and dashing is basically when somebody goes to a restaurant, orders a bunch of stuff, and then doesn't pay the bill. Sometimes the server has to pay for it, sometimes the restaurant will pay for it, it all depends. It's happened to me a couple of times, but this particular instance was quite interesting because I ended up actually meeting the guy like a few months later, and the whole time I kept the bill that he didn't pay in my wallet for whatever reason. We'll get to the conclusion of the story at the end, but this is how it went down. So I'm in Vancouver working at a bar downtown a couple of years ago. It's a weekday, it's not very busy, it's in the middle of the day, like lunchtime or something, and this dude comes in and he's a pretty normal dude, like seems really bubbly, enthusiastic about life. He's wearing shorts and a t-shirt, and he's got like all of these decorative tattoos all over his body, and he looks like a pretty interesting guy. Anyway, he sits down in my section. I go over to him with the menus and stuff like that, and we start talking, and he's like, "Oh, where are you from?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm from Ireland." And he's like, "Wow, I love Ireland," because that's what everybody says when they meet an Irish person. He starts asking about the menu. He's really inquisitive. He's really interested in like the specials of the day. So he's like, "What's the special? What's the soup? What's everything like this?" And he's like, "Okay, I'll have one of the special beers." It was Lucky Lager at the time. He also ordered a tequila shot. It's like 12 o'clock in the day, and it's probably, well, it's a weekday, but whatever. I'm not one to judge, so I get him his tequila shot and I get him his beer. So the whole time he keeps telling me that he's waiting on his better half to arrive. So I guess he means his girlfriend or whatever. And he's got his phone out. So he's got his phone in his hand and he's like pointing at the phone. He's like, "Oh yeah, she's just on the way," as if they're texting or something. So I'm like, cool, whatever. And he's asking me then about the food. He's like, what do you recommend? And I was like, the chicken sandwich. And he's like, "Oh, that sounds good. Does it come with like a house salad or something like that?" I'm like, "Well, we don't call it a house salad. I mean, it's just lettuce and tomatoes, but yes, it does come with a salad." And he's like, "Oh, could you cut the sandwich in half so I can split it with my partner?" I'm like, "Of course, it's a pretty common request. People want stuff split up." And he's like, "Cool, okay. Can I get one of those, please? But could you like wait a little bit until my partner like tells me she's on the way, and then, because I don't want it to go cold or whatever." I'm like, "Sure, no worries." And he's like, "Oh, could I have another tequila shot?" I'm like, "Okay, sure." Then I guess I go up to check on him a little while after, and he's like looking at his phone. He's like, "Oh yeah, she's just on the way now. Could I order the sandwich now? Like, could you get it started?" I'm like, "Cool, yeah." So I go, he ordered another tequila shot too. Now I know what you're thinking. Of course it was a dine and dash. This is textbook stuff. But you're watching a video that's got dine and dash in the title, and I'm telling you a story about the time someone dined and dashed on me. But you got to remember, when I was in that situation, I was thinking, tips, get this guy his drinks. Oh, what a nice customer. I mean, hindsight's 2020, especially with dine and dashes. You're like, "Oh yeah, of course. It's like, you don't know you're being dined and dashed until you've been dashed on. Anyway, I go into the kitchen to check on his sandwich, and I come back out. His beer is half full. He's not there. His shot's empty. I'm like looking around. I'm like, what the just happened? And sure enough, my manager has a look at the security footage, and the second I dipped away, he ran out the door, didn't pay his bill, didn't even get his chicken sandwich. So I'm there, I'm like, man, I've been played. Because this dude was such a kind, well, I guess he was a kind of psychopath, but that's the thing about psychopaths. You don't really know that they're psychopaths until you've been psychopathed by them. He asked all of our questions. He was really kind. He was really friendly. He was so specific, like to ask for his sandwich to be cut in half. It's not uncommon that people do that, but it's a very calculated thing. It wasn't all bad news, because the thing is, he hadn't actually received his sandwich yet. So, he had just left, and then 5 minutes later, like, his sandwich is there and it's ready. And I'm like, I'm eating a sandwich. So I ate the sandwich. I ended up getting my lunch out of it, and I got the money back because of the Dine and Dash fund. I was really annoyed. Like, I was really pissed off and furious about this guy. Like, it just was annoying that someone would do that to you. And I kept the bill in my pocket for some reason or another. Life continued. And then maybe 3 or 4 months later or something like that, I'm on the train, and it's like a really busy day. Everyone's going up to some sports game that's happening. And I hear this voice just in the back of the train, like this guy talking like to someone on the train. And I look around, and it's that fucking dude. He's unforgettable because like he's covered in tattoos, and his voice and his charisma is really like infectious and memorable. The person he's sitting next to, like, it's obviously some stranger that he's just struck up a conversation with. And I'm like, you kid, you probably just stolen his wallet. I was so angry. I was like, okay, this is not an appropriate time to interact with any humans, let alone this dude. So, you know, the train stopped at my stop, and it's a stop that kind of everybody gets off at. So I was like, please don't let him get off here. But anyway, I got off the train and I waited until everybody had gone up the stairs and up the escalator. So I go up the stairs, and there's obviously one person who had hung back, and they were like walking quite slowly, and you know, it's a tunnel, so you can hear all of the echoes and everything. I'm like, there's no way it's him. It can't be him. And I turn around, and that same dude, for whatever reason, decided to hang back, and he's walking, and I'm like, oh my God, the bill was in my pocket. Like, it was literally right there in my hand, in my wallet. And I just let him go. I didn't approach him. What's the point? If I give him his bill, he's not going to pay it. He didn't pay it then. He's not, like, this guy has issues. He probably wouldn't even remember this scenario. He probably just does this every day. Yeah, I would like to know what would have happened if I was like, yo, dude, you know that time you went and ordered all this stuff and didn't pay your bill? Well, I kept it for you, but alas, it didn't happen. And that's it. That's my dine and dash story. If you've ever been dined and dashed on, I'm sorry. I know the pain. I know the embarrassment that you must have gone through. If you have ever dined and dashed, don't do it. It's not fun. If you have done it, go back to the place and pay your bill and tip the server and do all of these things. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate it if you could like it and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more stuff. And until next time, have a great day.